You walk through the world feeling profoundly misunderstood. You believe that your mind is a complex, intricate labyrinth, completely unique to you. You believe that your fears, your ambitions, and your hidden traumas are locked away in a vault that no one could possibly penetrate without spending years getting to know you. You guard this vault carefully. You force people to earn the right to see the real you. Because of this, you are desperately lonely. Every human being is starving for the exact same thing, the feeling of being truly seen. We want someone to look past the armor, past the resume, past the forced smiles, and recognize the quiet, suffering child underneath. When someone actually does this, when someone looks into your eyes and speaks a truth about your soul that you have never spoken aloud, your defenses do not just lower, they shatter. The vault door swings wide open. You feel an overwhelming, intoxicating rush of intimacy. You trust them instantly. You feel bonded to them. You will tell them anything. The amateur believes that this kind of intimacy takes years to build. The amateur thinks that to understand someone, you must ask them 1,000 questions, listen to their life story, and patiently assemble the puzzle pieces of their psychology. The warlord knows that intimacy is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. Intimacy is a hackable mechanism. The warlord knows that human beings are not unique snowflakes. Human beings are biological machines running on highly predictable operating systems. We all share the same baseline insecurities, the same vanity, and the same terrifying fear of inadequacy. Because the warlord understands the baseline code, the warlord can fake a decade of intimacy in 5 minutes. Today we are going to teach you the psychological weapon of the cold raid. We are going to teach you how to manufacture artificial intimacy for the purpose of intelligence extraction. We will deconstruct the tools of the master psychic, the interrogator, and the Machiavellian negotiator. We will show you how to use the Barnum effect, the Rainbow Ruse, and the shotgun statement to break open the mind of your enemy, your client, or your target, and have them voluntarily hand you their deepest secrets. You are going to learn how to become the mirror. Welcome to the Art of Conquest. Part 1. The Physics of the Illusion, the Hunger for Validation. To master the cold read, you must first completely discard your respect for human uniqueness. When you sit across from a target, a ruthless CEO, a guarded romantic prospect, a hostile witness, they are projecting an image of absolute individuality. They want you to think they are a mystery. They are not a mystery. They are a demographic. If you know their age, their profession, and the environment in which they are operating, you already know 80% of their psychological profile. A 45-year-old middle manager who drives a leased BMW has a specific set of financial anxieties. A 28-year-old attractive woman in a major city has a specific set of relational traumas. A self-made millionaire has a specific, highly predictable strain of paranoia regarding the loyalty of their friends. The cold read is the art of stating these universal statistical probabilities as if they were profound, personalized psychic insights. Why does this work? Why doesn't the target realize you are just quoting statistics? Because of subjective validation. The human ego is a gravity well. It pulls everything toward itself. When a human being hears a statement that is even slightly ambiguous, their brain will automatically perform Olympic-level mental gymnastics to make that statement fit their own personal narrative. People want the read to be true. They want you to be the magician who finally understands them. When you throw out a carefully constructed line of bait, the target will grab it, swallow it, and then do the work of reeling themselves in. They will fill in the blanks. They will provide the specific details to prove that your vague guess was actually a stroke of absolute genius. You do not need to read their mind. You only need to provide the canvas, and they will paint their own secrets onto it. Part 2. The Arsenal of the Psychic, the Architecture of the Read. The cold read is built on 3 specific linguistic structures. These are your weapons. You must memorize them. You must practice them until they flow from your tongue like dark magic. Weapon 1, the Barnum Statement. Named after P.T. Barnum, who famously said, "We've got something for everyone." A Barnum Statement is an observation that sounds incredibly specific and intimate, but actually applies to 99% of the human population. It exploits the universal human condition. You have a strong need for other people to like you, and admire you, but you tend to be highly critical of yourself. You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not yet turned to your advantage. At times you are extroverted, affable, and sociable, while at other times you are introverted, wary, and reserved. Look at these statements. They are completely empty. They apply to literally every person who has ever lived. But when you look a target dead in the eye, lower your voice, and deliver a Barnum statement with absolute chilling conviction, the target's brain stops functioning. The target thinks, "My God, how did he know that I am critical of myself? He sees right through me." They do not realize that everyone is critical of themselves. They think it is their own private burden. You just validated their private burden. Weapon 2, the Rainbow Ruse. The human personality is a spectrum. We are all brave and cowardly, generous and selfish, logical and emotional, depending on the day. The Rainbow Ruse is a technique where you simultaneously assign the target a personality trait in its exact opposite. You cover both ends of the rainbow at the exact same time. Because you cover both ends, it is mathematically impossible for you to be wrong. The execution. You can be incredibly generous with your time and resources when it comes to the people you truly trust. But I can see that when someone crosses your boundaries, you have the capacity to become completely cold and ruthless. Analyze the trap. You just told them they are nice and you told them they are mean. The target's ego will ignore the contradiction. The target loves this statement because it paints them as a complex cinematic character. It paints them as a generous hero who is also a dangerous badass. They will eagerly nod. "Yes, exactly. I'm loyal, but if you cross me, you're dead to me." They have just confirmed a meaningless statement, and in doing so, they have handed you the authority of a mind reader. Weapon 3, the shotgun statement, the scatter gun. This is used to extract specific, actionable intelligence. A shotgun statement is a broad, sweeping statement that covers a wide array of possibilities. You fire 1,000 pellets into the air, knowing that at least one of them will hit a target. You watch the target's micro-expressions as the pellets fly. When a pellet hits, they will flinch. Their eyes will widen. They will lean in. When they react, you drop the rest of the pellets and drill down into the hit. The execution. I'm sensing that there is a significant friction point in your life right now. It feels logistical, something related to an older figure, maybe a parent or a senior boss, or perhaps a mentor who isn't pulling their weight. Or it could be a structural issue with a property or a legacy asset. You just listed parents, bosses, mentors, real estate, and inheritances. If the target is currently fighting with their CEO, their brain will ignore the parents and the real estate. Their brain will lock onto the word boss. The target will gasp and say, "Yes, my boss is completely sabotaging my division." Boom, the vault is open. You did not know about their boss. You threw out a shotgun blast of common human problems. They caught the pellet that matched their pain, and they voluntarily handed you the specific intelligence you needed. Part 3, the tactical application, extraction in the wild. Let us take these weapons out of the theoretical realm and deploy them on the battlefield. How does the Warlord use the cold red to dominate corporate negotiations, social hierarchies, and romantic conquests? Simulation 1, the corporate interrogation, the vendor pitch. You are a consultant pitching a highly skeptical, defensive CEO. The CEO has their arms crossed. They are giving you nothing. They are playing the tough guy. If you ask the amateurs questions, what are your pain points? What is your budget? The CEO will lie. They will give you corporate speak. The Warlord does not ask questions. The Warlord makes statements. The Warlord uses the cold read to bypass the CEO's armor. The Warlord leaning back, looking at the CEO with a clinical gaze. I've been looking at your Q3 metrics, but honestly, the numbers don't tell the real story. Looking at how you operate, I can see the actual bottleneck. You are a visionary builder. You see the macro architecture of this industry perfectly. Barnum Statement / flattery. But you are currently surrounded by an executive team that is obsessed with micromanagement and risk mitigation. You are spending 60% of your day dragging your own team across the finish line instead of actually steering the ship. Shotgun Statement / Rainbow Ruse. The physics of the strike. Every CEO in the history of the world believes they are a visionary surrounded by idiots. It is the baseline narcissism of the executive suite. By stating this as a read rather than a guess, you validate their deepest, most arrogant self-belief. The CEO's arms uncross. They lean forward. They look at you not as a vendor, but as a peer, as a therapist. The CEO says, "You have no idea. My CFO is completely terrified of the new expansion. I can't get him to approve the budget." You just extracted the exact internal political dynamic of their C-suite without asking a single question. You now know that the CFO is the enemy. You can tailor your entire pitch to give the CEO the ammunition they need to defeat their own CFO. You won the account because you made them feel understood. Simulation 2, the negotiation checkmate, the false empathy. You are negotiating a legal settlement or a business buyout. The opposing counsel is aggressive. They are demanding a massive sum. They are threatening to walk away. They are projecting strength. The amateur attacks the strength. Your case is weak. We will destroy you in court. This creates resistance. This corners the rat. The Warlord uses the cold read to expose the weakness behind the strength. The Warlord. You're pushing an incredibly aggressive timeline here, and you are anchoring exceptionally high. Most people would look at this and think you're just greedy. But that's not what I see. You don't actually care about the top-line number as much as you care about the liquidity. You have a structural cash flow problem on your end that is forcing your hand. You are being aggressive because you are on a clock. The physics of the strike. If you are wrong, you lose nothing. You just frame them as desperate. But if you are right, and highly aggressive anchors are almost always a sign of desperate cash flow needs, you have just detonated a psychological nuclear bomb in their mind. You have stripped away their mask. You have shown them that you see their bleeding wound. They will experience a rush of panic. They will realize their leverage is an illusion. To regain equilibrium, they will often immediately concede to a lower number in exchange for a faster payout, proving your read was correct. Simulation 3, the romantic bypass, accelerated intimacy. In dating, the cold raid is a lethal weapon. It is used to bypass the months of superficial vetting and plunge directly into the deep waters of emotional dependency. You're on a first date. The target is attractive, guarded, and used to being chased by amateurs. The amateurs ask boring questions. Where did you go to school? What do you do for work? The Warlord executes the dark flattery read. You have a very interesting energy. On the surface, you present this incredibly polished, perfectly curated aesthetic. You know exactly how to command a room. Validation of their armor. But there is a micro-tension in your jaw. It tells me that you are exhausted. You spend so much energy managing the perceptions of the people around you, playing the role of the perfect one, that you rarely allow yourself the luxury of just being entirely reckless and losing control. The Barnum / Rainbow Ruse. The physics of the strike. Beautiful, successful people are exhausted by their own perfection. They are surrounded by amateurs who only see the armor. When you bypass the armor and speak directly to the exhaustion underneath, you become a sanctuary. You become the one person they do not have to perform for. They will look at you with wide eyes. They will say, "I have never had anyone say that to me before." You have established a level of intimacy in 20 minutes that takes normal humans 3 years to achieve. You now hold the master key to their psychological vault. Part 4, the hot read conversion, turning the guess into gold. The cold read is only the first phase of the operation. The goal of the cold read is not to just sit there and guess their personality. The goal of the cold read is to transition into the hot read. A hot read is when you possess actual, factual intelligence about the target, but you present it as if you deduced it through sheer psychological brilliance. But how do you get the facts? You use the cold read to pry open the vault, and then you let the target hand you the gold. The protocol of the echo. When you deliver a shotgun statement and the target catches a pellet, they will start talking. Target: yes, my boss is completely sabotaging my division. You must immediately stop talking. You execute the void. You simply nod slowly, maintaining intense eye contact, and you murmur, "Exactly." As the target speaks, they will begin to dump massive amounts of highly sensitive data onto the table. They will tell you about the embezzlement, the affair, the broken supply line, the childhood trauma. They are doing this because the Cold Red lowered their inhibitions. They feel like you already know, so there is no point in hiding it. As they speak, you must listen with the cold precision of a machine. You are cataloging the data. 20 minutes later, when the conversation shifts to a different topic, you take the data they gave you, repackage it, and feed it back to them as a new insight. Target: "I just don't know how to handle the merger." The Warlord, using the data extracted earlier: "The merger isn't the problem. The problem is that ever since you realized your CFO was acting in bad faith, you've lost your baseline trust in the corporate structure. You are projecting the sins of your CFO onto the new partners." The target will be absolutely astounded by your wisdom. They will completely forget that they were the one who told you about the CFO 20 minutes ago. Because you recontextualized the information and delivered it with authority, they process it as a mystical revelation. You have converted their own messy confessions into a weapon of absolute compliance. Part 5. The danger of the mirror when the target bleeds. This is a dark art. It is a weapon of manipulation. And like all weapons of manipulation, it has a blast radius. When you successfully execute a cold red, you trigger a profound emotional response in the target. You trigger the release of oxytocin and dopamine. You make them feel a level of connection they have been starved of their entire lives. Because of this, they will rapidly become dependent on you. They will view you as their guru, their savior, or their soulmate. They will begin to bring all of their problems to you. They will demand your time. They will try to attach themselves to your empire. The amateur executes the cold red, enjoys the ego boost of being seen as a genius, and then accidentally gets swallowed by the target's neediness. The amateur becomes an unpaid therapist. The Warlord manages the dependency. The Warlord uses the cold read to extract the necessary intelligence, to win the deal, to secure the asset, to dominate the negotiation. And then the Warlord immediately rebuilds the boundary. Once the intelligence is extracted, you must execute the tactical withdrawal. You break the eye contact. You shift your body language. You change the subject from the emotional to the logistical. This has been a profoundly illuminating conversation. Now let us apply these insights to the structural terms of the contract. You slam the vault door shut. You show them that your ability to understand their soul does not mean you are going to carry their baggage. You are a mercenary of reality, not a caretaker of their emotions. If you do not manage this boundary, the intimacy you manufactured will become a chain around your own neck. Part 6. Defense against the dark arts, the blank slate. You are a warlord, but there are other predators in the jungle. What happens when you sit across from a master manipulator, a sociopath, or a highly trained salesman, and they attempt to use the cold red on you? They will look deeply into your eyes. They will drop a Barnum Statement. "I can tell that you project an image of absolute control, but deep down, you carry a heavy burden of responsibility that exhausts you." If you are an amateur, your ego will flare. You will think, "Yes, finally someone sees how hard it is to be me." You will nod. You will open your vault. You must recognize the weapon. You must see the code behind the matrix. When someone attempts a cold read on you, you must execute the ultimate countermeasure, the blank slate. 1. The denial of validation. When they make their profound statement, you do not nod. You do not agree. You do not disagree. You show absolutely zero emotional resonance. You look at them with mild scientific boredom. You say, "That is an interesting theory." 2. The demand for specifics, breaking the Barnum. When they use a vague, all-encompassing statement, you force them into the light of objective data. Manipulator: "I sense that you've had some trouble trusting business partners in the past." The Warlord: "Specify the exact partner, the exact year, and the exact dollar amount of the friction you are referencing. If you cannot provide the data, then your sense is merely a statistical guess designed to build false rapport." Let's return to the term sheet. When you demand specifics, the psychic illusion shatters. The manipulator is exposed as a charlatan. Their weapon breaks against the iron wall of your analytical mind. 3. The reverse read, the mirror reflection. If you want to completely destroy their frame, you take their read and turn it back on them. Manipulator. You seem like someone who hides behind their intellect. The Warlord. It is a common psychological phenomenon that people project their own primary defense mechanisms onto their targets. The fact that you interpret my silence as hiding tells me that you rely heavily on fast talking to obscure your own lack of depth. Proceed with the presentation. You just took their sniper rifle, disassembled it, and beat them to death with the barrel. They will never attempt to read you again. Part 7. The internal alchemy, the death of empathy. Why is it so difficult for the average person to execute a cold read effectively? Because the average person is crippled by empathy. When the amateur sits across from someone who is hurting, the amateur wants to feel their pain. The amateur wants to comfort them. Because the amateur's emotions are engaged, their logic shuts down. They cannot see the matrix. They cannot calculate the probabilities. To master the cold read, you must achieve clinical dissociation. You must view human emotion not as a sacred, magical force, but as a series of chemical reactions and biological algorithms. When the target is speaking, you are not listening to comfort them. You are listening to decode them. You are listening for the micro tremors in their voice. You are watching the dilation of their pupils. You are tracking the specific nouns they use to describe their trauma. You must become the surgeon. The surgeon does not cry when they cut open the chest. If the surgeon cries, the surgeon's hands shake and the patient dies. The surgeon remains completely, chillingly detached from the humanity of the patient so that the surgeon can manipulate the organs with absolute precision. You are manipulating the organs of the mind. This requires the death of your own need to be liked. You are not cold reading them so they will think you are a wonderful person. You are cold reading them to extract the data required to conquer the objective. If you need their love, you will fail. If you need their compliance, you will succeed. Part 8. The training ground, your mission. You cannot learn this by reading. You must practice the manipulation of perception. Mission 1. The stranger profile. Go to a coffee shop or an airport. Pick a stranger sitting alone. Observe them for 5 minutes. Look at their shoes, their watch, their posture, the stickers on their laptop. Based solely on these visual cues, write down 3 Barnum Statements and 1 Rainbow Ruse that would perfectly apply to their demographic. Do not speak to them. Just train your brain to stop seeing unique individuals and start seeing statistical profiles. Mission 2. The social extraction. At your next low-stakes social gathering, find an acquaintance you do not know well. Execute a shotgun statement regarding their career or their family. You have the energy of someone who is carrying a lot of the structural weight in your department right now, and the people above you aren't fully acknowledging the sheer volume of fires you put out. Watch their face. Watch the hit. When they start complaining about their boss, practice the void. Say nothing. Just nod. See how long they will talk and how much data they will spill, simply because you provided the illusion that you already understood them. You are testing the code. You are watching the machine work. Part 9. The ultimate emptiness. The deeper you go into the dark psychology of the cold read, the more you will realize a terrifying truth about the human condition. People are empty. They are wandering through life, desperate for a mirror that makes them look significant. They are desperate for a script that makes their mundane suffering seem poetic, heroic, and complex. The amateur gets angry at this emptiness. The amateur wishes the world was deeper. The warlord exploits it. You do not need to be a psychic. You do not need to possess mystical powers of empathy. You only need to be the mirror. You hold up the glass. You angle it slightly so that it catches the best light. You let them look into it and see the magnificent, tragic, misunderstood hero they always believed they were. And while they are utterly mesmerized by their own reflection, while they are weeping tears of gratitude that someone has finally truly seen them, you quietly reach behind the mirror, turn the dial on the safe, extract the gold, and walk out of the room before they even realize they've been robbed. You gave them the intimacy they craved. You took the power you required. This is the geometry of the mind. This is the exploitation of the soul. This is the way of the art of conquest. On this channel, we cover a range of topics like the one in this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, we may never see each other again. See you again soon.